We had a patient a couple of days ago in clinic with a relative afferent pupillary defect, and he was kind enough to allow us or to consent to us for us to video him so that we have a good example of what an RAPD or a relative afferent pupillary defect is. Um, Pupil defect is actually not necessarily a problem with the pupil, it's a problem with the optic nerve. So we use that test to catch problems of the optic nerve. The pupil is just a hole in the iris which lets light into the eye. And so when you go into a bright room, the pupil shrinks, it constricts to protect the retina from the amount of light that's coming into the eye. And when you go into a dark room, the pupil will uh, get large or dilate to allow more light to come into the eye so that you can see in a darker room. Um, so the pupil, it's actually protecting the eye from getting too much light. So it's a protective reflex, the pupil reflex is. And so light going into just one of the eyes will still cause constriction in both pupils to protect them. So information about how much light's coming into the eye is sent to the brain through the optic nerve, which is the second cranial nerve, and then the brain decides how small the pupils need to be and sends that information back to the pupil through largely the third cranial nerve. If you get damage to one of your optic nerves, light will seem less bright to the brain, and the pupil won't come down as much as it would have if the nerve was completely intact. So let's say you have a patient like this one we're going to demonstrate on that has, let's pretend first the patient has an intact set of optic nerves. So when you put them in the dark, the pupils will be, say, 8 millimeters. You shine the light in the right eye, the pupil comes down to 4 millimeters. You swing that light over to the left eye, the pupil stays down, both pupils stay down at 4 millimeters. Swing it back to the right, they stay at 4 millimeters. Take the light away, pupils go back up to 8 millimeters. Now, if that patient if they end up getting damage to one of their optic nerves, let's say they get damage resulting in about 50% decrease signal transmission to the brain. When the patient's in the dark, both eyes will be still at 8 millimeters, both pupils. If you shine the light on the right eye, which is the damaged has the damaged optic nerve, the brain's only going to get signal transmission of about 50% intensity, and so it's only going to bring the pupils down, let's say, to 6 millimeters. Then you swing that flashlight over to the right eye or to the left eye where the optic nerve is completely intact. The brain will see the full intensity of the light and shrink both pupils down, constrict them both down to about 4 millimeters. Then you swing the light back to the right eye where the damaged optic nerve is. The brain doesn't see the same signal intensity of the light. Pupils can come back up a little bit. Swing it over to the left eye, the pupils will constrict again down to 4 millimeters. So that tells us that the right optic nerve has damage to it. And the patient in the video, as you'll watch, will shine the light in his right eye. His pupils will constrict some. We'll shine it over the left eye. They'll both constrict more. Swing it back to the right eye. The pupils will dilate a little bit. Swing it over to the left eye. The pupils will then constrict. And the light will kind of drown out some of what he is what his pupils are doing on the left eye, but the right eye, you can see it pretty well. So even in the right eye, when you shine the pupil in the left eye, because the pupil itself is intact, the right pupil is still going to constrict, even though the optic nerve is damaged. If you swing the light over to the right eye where the nerve is damaged, both pupils are going to dilate a little bit. So just an example of what to look for when you're looking for an afferent pupillary defect. So here's our patient. Shine the light on the right eye, the pupils will dilate, swing over to the left. They both constrict, back to the right, both dilate, back to the left, constrict. So this is the pattern that you're looking for when you're looking for an afferent pupillary defect.